MicroStrategy has increased its purchasing activity.
A bold bet on Bitcoin, but could MicroStrategy's plan backfire?
Significant increases in debt loads, but also shareholder value is being diluted.
MarketBeat's Thomas Hughes breaks down the company's recent moves and how investors are reacting.
Bitcoin is very bullish long term, and its price is only going to go higher.
How is the stock and Bitcoin in general faring during this market meltdown? Let's dive in. All right, Thomas, let's dive into MicroStrategy and really kind of Bitcoin as a whole, since these are really tied together. As the whole market is kind of melting down right now, what is the Bitcoin market doing?
It's also melting down to an extent. There's a lot of uncertainty, so it's got a lot of investors fleeing to the sidelines. So what I think is happening in the Bitcoin market is a lot of investors are going to cash, waiting to see what's going to happen, and that's opening up a buying opportunity.
Let's talk about MicroStrategy and how these are linked together. Are we seeing MicroStrategy following the same as the rest of the market, or more closely following what Bitcoin is doing?
It's kind of tied to both because both are generally pulling back because of the same uncertainties. For MicroStrategy, you had the Bitcoin impact, but also the investment impact. They're certainly doing a great job building their Bitcoin position, but it's costing investors. They're increasing their debt, they're diluting their shares. So those are headwinds for the market. So looking forward, I think that MicroStrategy investors should be prepared for volatility, regardless of the trend and direction.
And that kind of sounds like a lot of the market right now. Just be prepared for volatility. That's a common theme we're going to keep hearing right now. The gold chart, the gold market, is another different story during this market volatility. And investors are definitely turning to this different commodity and just a different market during this volatile season. If you're interested in gold right now, check out MarketBeat's free report on a perfect storm for demand, 2025's gold forecast for their price outlook and top investment strategies for gold. You can scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video to get that free report and explore a little bit more about what investing in gold right now might look like. Let's talk a little bit more about what the company is doing to add to its Bitcoin position as Bitcoin's price is down quite a bit. Has that really hit a bottom?
It's showing some signs of bottoming right now, but the downtrend could still be intact. But with a 20% decline in Bitcoin prices, MicroStrategy has increased its purchasing activity, which is good for its long-term strategy. It'll help lower its cost basis. It did buy some BTC at $100,000, which is the high water mark just about. But what it's doing to get that position is it's issuing debt, preferred stock with high dividend yields, and it's selling common shares. So what we have is significant increases in debt loads, and its debt maintenance fees, but also shareholder value is being diluted. So these are major headwinds for the business and for shareholders moving forward.
I want to look at what the institutions and analysts are saying about some of the moves MicroStrategy is making right now, but let's start with the retail traders. What are retail traders saying about all of the moves and debt that MicroStrategy is getting right now?
The retail traders, as represented by bloggers such as myself and armchair analysts, is really very mixed. There's the one camp that sees the Bitcoin strategy as being a very long-term bullish move, and I kind of agree with that. I think Bitcoin is very bullish long-term, and its price is only going to go higher. But then there's the near-term story, which is that the company is leaning into debt, diluting shares, has a cash flow negative business, and these are headwinds for the market. So the one camp sees the stock price going higher, the other camp sees it going lower, and that's just another reason to think that we'll see a lot of volatility moving forward.
Well, let's move from the retail traders to more of those institutions and analysts. What are they saying about MicroStrategy right now?
Well, the institutions and analysts provide a fairly strong tailwind for the market right now. Institutions, they own about 60% of the stock right now. They added about 10% over the last month or so because their buying activity, or the last quarter or so, because their buying activity has ramped to multi-year highs. Once in Q4 of last year, then again in Q1 of this year. As far as the analysts go, analyst trends include increasing coverage, firming sentiment, and a rising price target. Some of the most recent price targets have seen a little bit of pullback, but generally speaking, they all align with an above consensus expectation, and consensus is forecasting 75% upside.
That's impressive. Do you expect that guidance to change a little bit, just given all of the market changes and volatility we're seeing right now?
It certainly could. The company has an earnings report coming out pretty soon. So what we're expecting is to see it its core business, its software business to contract, and for the cash to continue dwindling as it buys Bitcoin. So those two stories are still intact. The Bitcoin story is still improving, but it's still burning cash and still diluting shareholder value.
Yeah, let's talk about just the business a little bit and this stock. MicroStrategy has been around for a long time, but the company really changed, and why investors invest in this company also changed kind of just a few years ago.
Right, it was in 2020, and it's kind of odd, coincidental that it made this shift because it made that shift right before the AI boom. And its business was centered in data mining and making these data-driven um, decisions for businesses, and it seemed very, very well positioned for the AI boom, only it had made this shift before the AI boom started. And so now what we have is its core business is kind of dwindling and not really doing anything, but the Bitcoin business is, kind of also taking off, but not producing any cash flow or any kind of profits.
So there's a lot of institutional activity on this stock. Let's look at the short interest a little bit. There seems to be quite a bit of action on MicroStrategy right now.
Well, right. The short interest is another reason to expect volatility. There's the institutions and analysts are very bullish, but the short sellers are also very bearish. Over the last 2, 3 quarters, their activity has ramped to multi-year highs. They're trending at multi-year highs right now. It's not phenomenally high, like 25 or 30%, but I think it's around 13% right now, which is still pretty high, high enough to cap gains, high enough to create volatility, but also high enough provided a catalyst for a short squeeze or a short covering. So it really just depends on upcoming earnings reports. But as I said before, the expectation is for the trends to kind of continue as they have been, which kind of leads me to believe that there's not really much opportunity for enough or a sufficient catalyst to cause a short squeeze.
Is there an opportunity for traders here to make some money, or is this a big risk to get into betting on MicroStrategy right now?
I think there are opportunities to make money, but there's also plenty of risks. Investors are going to want to wait for deep pullbacks and buy the stock as cheap as they can, add to it over time. And then traders are going to want to target clearly demarcated levels of support and resistance and try to, again, buy on dips and then sell on the rips.
So we talked about some strategies that different investors and traders might have with MicroStrategy, but what are the insiders doing?
Well, the insider activity is a little confusing. They first popped up on my radar recently because the insiders had done some purchasing. But then just a few days later, the same insiders that bought sold, plus a couple of more. And the buys and the sells kind of aligned with the announcements and the completion of these stock offerings and debt offerings. The company also uses share-based compensation. So there's really a lot of reasons and factors at play with their buying and selling. But I would say the takeaway is that it's neither bullish nor bearish. It's just another piece of the volatility puzzle. In the end, insiders own about 9% of the stock, which is a pretty fair amount of skin in the game.
Bitcoin had a little bit of good news with the Trump administration. Tell us about that announcement.
Well, yeah, they announced the formation of the Strategic Cryptocurrency Reserve. It's a bullish move for Bitcoin prices. It did provide a little bit of a bounce in the Bitcoin price and also a MicroStrategy, but it was insufficient to cause a market reversal. And so right now we're still under pressure, waiting for the next big catalyst, which will probably be a reduction in general uncertainty.
Yeah, I know at the start of the Trump administration, a lot of cryptocurrency investors were very excited because the administration is known to be a big supporter of cryptocurrency. Is that enough to see a big turnaround, or even for investors to consider getting into that market because there is some support from the top?
Well, yeah, but it would occur over time. So what we're going to want to see as far as that goes is for either the government to start buying Bitcoin, which I don't think really is the plan. I think the plan more is to just keep the Bitcoins that it acquires through, government actions and legal actions and enforcement actions. So then again, if the government were to go and acquire a bunch of Bitcoins in some way and then stash them away in their reserve, it would be bullish long term because it reduces the number of Bitcoins that are available, which would also help reduce volatility in the Bitcoin market over time.
And likely impact MicroStrategy too.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Thomas, thank you so much for breaking down this stock today. Let us know what you think about MicroStrategy. Are you an investor long term, thinking about getting into the stock, or staying away? We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Thanks again for watching today, everyone. And as always, happy investing.